Hi guys, and welcome to today's video. Now I'm going to be showing you why I always use 200th of a second f800 ISO for all my studio lighting work, and this is a great starting setup for you. You can always change it if you prefer other settings, but this is a good starting point for you. So I've got Hannah back with us today, and we just got an Octobox which is just going to be illuminating Hannah for these pictures. I just got a Nikon Z6 and a 24-200mm lens. Now I always use 200ths of a second because that is the maximum sync speed that my camera can go to, where when we fire the camera, the signal goes from here to our studio light and fires to get our image. If we go any faster, we end up with this little black line, and I've already done a video on this about how these shutter blades are too fast for the studio light. So if you want to watch that, please do, but I'm going to do a little brief summary for you. So if we do a shot of Hannah at 200ths of a second, f800 ISO, we're going to get a lovely clean image there. And if I go any faster than 200th of a second, so let's say 250, I'm going to end up with a short black line just on the right hand side. And what you'd end up doing, this is where the shutter blades are closing quicker than what the flash is firing off. Now you can get something called high speed sync, which if you'd like me to do a video on, please drop a comment below and I will do a video for you. But if you do go slower, so let's say 125th of a second, it's not going to make that much difference. But if you do start going even lower than that, you'll start going to get the ambient light appearing, and if Hannah moves, you're going to get something called motion blur. So 200th of a second is the perfect shutter speed for this. So if you are not using Nikon, you may be using Canon or Sony or Fuji or any of those, they may have a different maximum sync speed. Sometimes it may be to 250, sometimes it may be 160. So the way you can tell is if you do a shot at one of those settings and you find that little black line appearing, you've gone too fast. So the reason I use f8, and I've just changed my lens just to show you this example. So I've still got a 24-70, but it's a 2.8. So if we do a shot of Hannah at f8, as mentioned, and I'm just going to get a lovely portrait of Hannah here, you're going to see from the front of Hannah's face to the back, she is completely into focus. So there's enough depth of field at f8 to get the front of Hannah's nose to the back of her head all in focus. Now if we change our aperture to 2.8, we're basically reducing our depth of field to about a quarter of that. So what will happen is when I do another photo of Hannah and I focus on the eyes, everything probably just before the ear will start fading away and getting a lot softer. Now this is great for outdoor portraits, but not really for the studio portrait unless there's a certain look you are after. And if you do change anything on your camera settings, especially the aperture, your studio light has to compensate for it. So I'm just going to turn this light down there. Okay, by about 2 stops from f8 roughly, and we just do another shot. What you will see is Hannah's ear and the back of her head has now gone slightly out of focus, and with a lot of portraits you want the whole portrait in focus, especially in the studio lighting. Now again, if you are doing a specific look, you may have different settings, but just as a starting point, if you are getting into studio lighting, I would recommend you stay around f8. So the reason I use 100 ISO because that is the lowest ISO setting on my Z6. Now you can get other cameras that can go down to 50, or other cameras that can only go down to 200. But if you are doing studio lighting, put your camera on the lowest ISO. It means that you're getting the best quality image out of your camera. So the lower the ISO, the better quality image you get. And as we're using flash, our camera settings that we're using is for the exposure of this flash. So there's no reason to not be using a low ISO for any portraits like this. Now it is slightly different if you start doing a lot of faster flash photo shoots, like throwing powder paints and things like that, but for this example 100 ISO is perfect for this. So if we just do a shot of Hannah as we are at 100 ISO, we know we are going to get a great quality image out of it. But if we start going up to maybe 1600 ISO, our images are going to start looking a little bit grainy. Now I know these are great modern cameras and it can be fixed with noise reduction and other software tools, but generally if the higher you go with your ISO, the graininess starts to come in. Now then, so I'm going to put this up to 16 16,000 ISO, and I'm going to have my aperture on the widest it can. I'm going to turn down this light as low as it can go and just show you the difference having a much higher ISO. Now I don't know if this will come out white. No, that's a little bit underexposed. We're just going to turn this back up. I think it's underexposed by about a stop. If we just go up again. Okay, we can now get the exact same photo, but what will happen is if you start looking closely into the pixels, you will start seeing the noise appearing in those photos. So keep to a nice low ISO such as 100. So just remember, 200 to a second, f8, 100 ISO is a great starting camera settings when using studio lighting. Now I hope you have enjoyed this video. Hannah, thank you so much for helping us. Please consider liking and subscribing, and I'll see you all in the next video.